Our badge is currently blue, but let's change this application such that if the value of the count property is 0, we want to render this as yellow to indicate some kind of warning. Otherwise, we want to render it as blue. So, back in the code, when we use the badge primary class here, we get a blue badge. If we use badge warning, we'll get a yellow badge. So in this lecture, we want to render one of these classes dynamically depending on the value of the count property. And this is a pattern that you see a lot in real-world applications. So here's one way to do this. We can define a constant here, call it classes, set it to the string. In this string, we're going to include all the classes that we're going to pass here. So we start with the primary classes that we want to have in all cases, that is badge and M2. So badge and M2. Now, depending on the value of the count property, we want to add badge warning or badge primary to this string. So classes plus equal. Now note that we're modifying this, so we cannot use a constant. That's when we use the let keyword. So if this.state.count equals 0, we're going to append badge-warning. Otherwise, we're going to append badge-primary. Now, we could make this a little bit cleaner, so we don't want to repeat badge dash in a couple of places. We can add that here, badge dash, and here on line 10, simply append warning or primary. And finally, replace these hard-coded classes with what we have in this variable. So save the changes. Initially, our count is 0. That's why we have a yellow badge. But if we go back here and change the value of count to 1, save the changes, now we get a blue badge. Awesome. But we're not done yet. Look at our render method. These two first lines are purely about determining the class for this label. They are polluting our render method. It would be nicer if we encapsulated these two lines in a separate method so the details of calculation of the classes is not causing this method to get bloated. So let's extract these two lines in a separate method. Now let me show you a quick tip. I'm going to select these two lines, right click. Look at this refactor menu. Note the shortcut. On Mac, it's Control, Shift, and R. So I'm going to use this shortcut, and this brings up the refactoring menu. So here we have a refactoring command called extract to method in class. So let's go ahead with that. Now you can see VS Code automatically extracted these two lines into a separate method. Now we need to give this method a name. Let's call that get badge classes. Always use descriptive names that determine the intention of your code. This makes it easier for other developers to read and understand your code. Okay, so here's our new method. Now we can simplify this code. We don't need this separate variable here. We can call this method directly right here. So this that get badge classes, and then we delete this variable. Now we can see our render method is cleaner. It's not bloated with various responsibilities. Save the changes to make sure everything is working. Our badge is blue, beautiful. Finally, let's change this to 0. Save the changes, and now it's yellow. Perfect. Next, we're going to look at rendering lists.